my friend, esteemed friend, Dr. Catherine Helm. How you doing today?
Well, hello. How are you, Dr. Prince?
I am well. I'm just trying to live that life, you know what I'm saying? Trying to live in abundance.
An
Abundance.
abundance, an abundance of what?
I don't know, something. I just that's what I heard at church, so I'm just repeating what I heard.
Okay,
I'm
you getting your
delivering in
spiritual growth
abundance.
on? You're getting your
I'm,
spiritual growth on
I'm giving in abundance.
in
Yes.
abundance. You're getting your
Yes.
spiritual growth on. I like it. I like it.
Well, it's good to see you. We have some really great topics to talk about today. First one is from a documentary that I saw called "The Perfect Neighbor."
Okay.
If you haven't seen it, we'll talk about it a little bit, but give you an overview. But I thought it'd be really great for us to talk about because yeah, anyhow. And then the next one, this is your wheelhouse, Dr. Helm. Talking about sex education in our country today. I know we
Hmm.
touched on just a little bit last time, but
Yep.
I can tell you in Texas, sex education is in desperate need. Desperate
Yeah.
need.
We're gonna. I love talking about sex and sex ed. So,
All right. And then we got about socializing, the lack of socializing that seems to be happening right now, probably across the board, but particularly amongst certain parts of our community.
yep.
Uh, and then we got a side eye. Those damn young Republicans who are not so young, but we'll call them young Republicans.
Okay.
Um, we'll get into that later on.
The little
Uh,
texting thing, the little racist texts.
and their
Yeah.
private texting chain that they should be held responsible because they're too young. Boys would be boys. I'm like,
Okay.
okay. Well, before we get to that, we want to do one of our wonderful djembe cards. We're going to do one of our grounding cards, and here we go.
Okay.
Actions I'm taking to create more fairness and justice are blank and blank.
Hmm.
You want me? You want to go
That's a good
first?
question.
You
I
want to go
guess I
first?
can go first. It depends on if you mean in my home with my 3 children or in the world. Do you have a preference? It
It's up to
shapes my
you.
answer.
It's up to you.
In my home, I sometimes try to forcibly create an atmosphere of fairness and justice, right? So, I have 3 children, and so if there's 1 cookie, I'm gonna cut it in 3 equal parts because they can measure microscopically, but just as a joke. I think in society, that's a hard one these days, isn't it? And really, I think it's trying to show an attitude of respect, and I'm trying to work on being respectful and respectfully disagreeing in
Mm,
this attitude in this age of polarization. I think that is something that I need to work on in myself.
mm, that's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
within our homes, I mean, what you remind me when you say that is, I had this professor in grad school. It was a feminism class, and what I loved about it was that here's this strong, intelligent black woman leading this chorus who started off the chorus saying, "For all the males or the male identifying people in the room, this is a woman-centered class, and so if you notice that your hand goes up and you don't get called on, it's intentional." and I mentioned that because not everything is as fair as people think it should be, and sometimes it's really more about equity and other voices being heard. And
Yeah.
one of the things she taught me was about how even in her relationship with her husband, she says, I'm a very strong man's man, and so what we talk about here in this classroom sometimes doesn't work at home, but that's the
Mhm.
choice that we
Interesting.
make in our relationship. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah, that's an
so
interesting perspective. Yeah.
yeah, and I just remember saying, I was like, okay, she's not saying it should be one way or the other. She's just saying my
Yeah.
husband don't swing that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know what's interesting about what you said, right? And not to digress too much, but so she says, this is what I'm teaching, and this is the way that I live my life, but I make my relationships sometimes work differently than what I'm teaching about. And oftentimes people say, I don't understand how you could vote that way when X, Y, and Z, you have a gay child or you,
mm,
right? And you see, like, people are complicated. right? We are complicated, we are inconsistent, we may live out our values in one way and then do something completely different. And, you know, we are we are inconsistent people, right? And so I think it's at least she knew it, right? But I think it's something that we, especially in today's world, we really have to look at.
Yeah, well, we're definitely a series of contradictions, it seems at
We are.
times. Some of us
We
are
are.
conscious, some of them are just lying. So,
That's so true.
but that's a whole nother thing. But to
That is.
respond to the prompt for me, actions I'm taking to create more fairness and justice are blank and blank. Today, earlier this week, and I actually wrote, a blog about it because it was pretty powerful. I got to visit with a group out of the Middle East called the Builders of the Middle East, or in the Middle East. It's a nonprofit that was started by Daniel Lubitsky, who was the founder of the Kind Bar and all the different products that he has. And what was really powerful about it was to see Israeli, a Palestinian, and others who are in support of how to be pro-Israel, how to be pro-Palestinian,
Mm,
and pro-humanity, and just
mhm.
hearing their stories about basically getting the stories of people on the ground and what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis through the conflict. And they started before October 7th, but just to see them continually do the work that's necessary and get
Yeah.
pushback, but still staying, 10 toes deep in the work to really focus on us building connections and building bridges and being
Mhm.
builders instead of destroyers is what I heard them talk about. So that was just being a part of that. To me, it was part of that creating and being present with fairness and justice,
Yeah.
and being a witness to it. So for me,
Yeah.
that was really really cool. So yeah, cool. So which one we want to tackle first? We got socialize and we got sex ed, and then the perfect neighbor the documentary.
I wanna hear about the documentaries.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Because being someone who doesn't have much time to watch documentaries, you text it to me. I wanna hear about it.
Okay. Well, it's on Netflix. It was actually ranked pretty, I think, number one over the weekend. And actually, I learned about it by a friend of mine who's from the UK, but I think I forget if he's Palestinian, not Palestinian, but I forget if he's from India or from Pakistan. So forgive
Okay.
me if you see this friend. Uh, um, but he basically told me about it. He was just upset at watching it. So I was like, I don't know if I'm in the mood for seeing some upsetness. Because you
Upset.
made it clear it was about violence against black folks.
Oh,
And basically, it's a movie about that happened in Florida. And the reason that's important is because it's during that whole what's that law where you can't
um,
stand your ground.
stand your ground? Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
stand your
Yeah,
ground. And basically, it's about this story about this white woman who is upset, and they're all working class folks. And there's an
yeah,
empty lot next to her home where all the kids in the neighborhood go to play. But she's out there on a regular basis, yelling at them, going back and forth with the parents in the neighborhood, going back and forth with the kids. She has why she's all upset about it is just, doesn't make any real sense because it's not her property, it's not her land, but it happens to be next to her home. And of
but
course,
she don't
kids
want
make a
them
lot of
playing next
noise.
to her house.
Exactly. And so she's upset. But one thing, and what's really interesting is that she calls the police incessantly.
Yeah,
Like they're at the house all the time. And as you and I both know, when the police gets involved, it's weird. The
yeah.
first thing I noticed is that the police that came out, it was a black woman, it was a white woman, it was a white guy, it was an Asian guy or Latino, I couldn't tell, I wasn't sure. And they all were having just regular conversations with the kids, with the parents,
Okay, these
trying
are
to
the
resolve it.
parents who are at the empty lot, not the cops. These are the parents. Okay, yeah, alright,
Yeah, yeah.
uh-huh.
And but these are this is a small neighborhood, and the police are coming out there, and they're literally across the street from each other. And the police are coming out, and what I thought the documentary did a good job of was showing how police can interact with community members and it not erupt into a thing.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And that we
Yeah,
oftentimes don't see good representations of that. And I, for myself personally, I think I had a few good positive experience with the police. One of them happened to be an aunt of mine, and so I thought it was nice to see that kind of depiction of relationship
yeah,
between communities of color in law enforcement. I don't know if you've ever had
okay.
that kind of experience.
A little bit. Yeah, I've had some positive experiences, I've had some negative experiences.
Mhm.
So what
Yeah.
happened?
So, so I'm hesitant because it was actually really sad.
Oh, no.
Basically, the woman is a white woman. She's making all these phone calls. Next thing you know, she's throwing like roller skates at one of the kids and took a laptop. So the mother who finds out about this, and we're talking about a little kid who's like maybe 11 years old. So he tells mom. Mom says, comes over, pounds on the door 2 or 3 times. I can't remember, and literally shot her through the door, a closed door, shot and
Wait,
killed
the white woman shot
the mother, the black woman. And what I'll be honest, I was pretty upset watching it and started to tear up because
Yeah,
when the
I will
family,
not be watching this. It's like, what?
you're like, I'm
I
not
mean,
watching. I'll tell you, I had to stop 3 or 4 times and
this hurts
pause.
my soul.
Yeah,
What?
it hurt me so bad.
Why
And
did
the
you want
reason,
to watch something like that? It's like we're already living it. What? That's not entertaining.
no,
Can't be.
well, I'll tell you why I watched it. I finished watching it because one, the woman ended up getting convicted for 25 years and went to prison for manslaughter. It questioned the whole legitimacy of stand your ground kind of laws because that's what she was. And the woman lied. It was so pathetic how much she was lying. I thought she was coming to kill me. I thought she was coming after me. I'm like,
Without
lady,
his baby, without his mama, I can't.
yeah, there was
Ooh,
4 kids I can't remember, and the
oh,
husband too,
my
the
skin
father.
hot.
It was heartbreaking. In all honesty, I was in my bed tearing up like a big old baby, and
Why did you want me to watch that? No, I am not. I am not watching that. That hurts my soul. No. I thought we
well,
were friends. We already living it. Why do we have to? Why is it entertaining?
I mean,
Oh,
it's kind of like watching a slave narrative. After a while,
I know. I
it's too
can't watch
much.
those either. It breaks my heart every time. I'm like just sobbing.
Yes,
No, no.
but
Look at my face.
and for me, I think the reason why it was still important to see because this is the experience of many Black folks and others across this country. And it was a reminder of the kind of the tug of war we have with law enforcement. And here's a story of where law enforcement was actually kind of doing their job.
Yeah.
Um, and it unfortunately it didn't end well because the woman basically she was racist and her racism came out in how she behaved that night. So that was
You
very
can be racist without guns. I mean, ooh
well.
wee.
I think she, they,
We're about to talk about kind of our side eye with the texts, right? I don't like that either, but I'd rather you send some racist text than kill somebody. My God. Oh,
well, the thing is, you found out she had looked on the internet ahead of time to look at stand your ground laws to see if she'd be covered, and she just was lying left or right. And what was nice was to see the law enforcement be like, you tripping. They were just like, there's no way we could no, this isn't possible. You're
no.
lying. They didn't say she was lying, but they were like, nothing what you're saying is consistent with the information on the ground. And so yeah, heartbreaking, but the ones if there's a saving grace, it was a reminder for me of the experiences of a lot of folks in this country and how heartbreaking it is. It's so easy to distance ourselves.
But
And
do
I
we
think
though?
justifiably, but
I don't think we
for me,
do. I think we feel it deeply because when things happen to people who look like you, even things happen to people who don't look like you,
yes,
right?
yes.
It's heartbreaking. Oh, I will not be watching that.
Yeah, no, well, now you make me think of what it was about that was heartbreak. I mean, other than her loss, it
Yeah.
reminded me of my mama. This
Mm.
woman wasn't. I mean, she was just doing her mama duties,
Yeah.
and it was heartbreaking to see that happen, and for those kids to lose their parent like that. That was
Yeah.
that
Because
that
she's
that.
doing her job as a parent. The woman took stuff that didn't belong to her. You go on to advocate for your baby and you lose your life.
Yes,
I cannot.
yeah.
I cannot. Now I won't be able to sleep. I'll be thinking about it days from now. See, that's why I can't watch stuff like that because we live it anyway. So, ooh, no,
Dr. Help said, "You'll have me up all night
no.
losing
See,
sleep."
audience, if we have audience members, see, he sent me this text about how I should watch and how good it was, and you just broke my heart, and I will not.
Well, those kind of movies, along with slave narratives, are the only stories that we used to have for years.
It's
Thankfully,
true.
we have expanded our repertoire
We have.
beyond slave narratives and loss of
Oh,
family members. Well, cool. I just wanted to talk about that because I thought it was for some folks might be a powerful story to hear.
It's
But
powerful. It just hurts.
oh, that's the problem. It hurts deep, deep,
Yes.
deep, it cut
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want to do next? Sex education or socializing?
I can always talk about sex.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, right. So part of my background is I've been a human sexuality educator. So I used to teach it at the college level for years, put out a book for high school and late high school, early college students on human sexuality. So I am not teaching that anymore, but I'm still kind of interested. And, this comes up from time to time about, what we're teaching in the schools and where people get their information from. And one of the things I used to do is I would teach the human sexuality class and I would have a box, right? And I would send this box around to all of my students, and everybody had to put something in the question box, even if it was a blank sheet of paper, right? So people weren't, you were like, oh, that person had a question. It must be their question. So everyone had to put something, and I would read the questions out loud in class. And it was always interesting, KP, because these are college students, and this is maybe 10 years ago, and their own sexual knowledge, sexual health, right, was so limited, right? And it's still limited, even though we have all these tools, the internet and things like that. People's ability to talk about sex and sexual health, people's ability to communicate about those things, people's knowledge is so limited. And each generation seems to think that they're the only ones who invented sex. It's true. It's true. Like,
Like,
oh, I don't want to say anything to my parents because they don't know anything about sex. Okay.
but what you make me think about is how I'm experiencing having us have this conversation is a reminder of how uneasy many of us, even at this age in our
Are
life,
you getting
young, old.
uneasy? You getting
Well, I
upset?
don't feel uneasy because I talk about this way
Okay.
more than I maybe should. But I remember how I remember sitting in the class like what you described and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're gonna talk about penises and vaginas up in here, y'all.
Yeah.
Let's do this." And so there's a little uneasiness and a little excitement at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting because we still have some outdated thinking, right? And some of
Yes,
the outdated thinking is if we talk about topics like birth control and sexual health, it will encourage young people to have sex. And
yes,
actually, research shows right now, we've talked about this, Gen Z is having the least sex of anybody.
exactly. Because we've
Right,
talked
and that
a lot about
STDs are
this.
on the rise in nursing homes and my baby boomers, so they probably having the most sex, right? But, people's sexual knowledge and sexual health, it's like carefully guarded information, and we do such a disservice to people because it's just another aspect of life and another aspect of health.
It is, and I guess one of the things I wanted to get your insights on because I was dating someone for a short time, and she had gotten a letter from the school district about they were going to have a conversation about sex education, and she was just, I mean, the child was in middle school, if I'm not mistaken,
Okay.
and she was feeling so sense of objection to it because she felt like they're too young to be having this conversation. Even the whole topic of lesbian and gay, I mean, that was part of the conversation because of sexual health, right? And she's just like, they're too young to have this conversation. And I try to
And
be
in
patient with
middle
her.
school, they're too young?
Yes, middle
That's when a
school.
lot of kids start having sex. We hope they're not, but that's when they're okay. So that's not what the research says at all, right? Like kids
Exactly.
begin to
Exactly.
like you have what gender and racial constancy, which is what gender you are, right? You know what your race is by the time you're 5, and you know what it means in society, right? I mean, sexual health and sexual knowledge and knowledge of body parts. Right? So when people are like, oh, it's your PP. No, it's not. It's not a PP. Right? So we teach the proper name for ear. Why can't we teach the proper name for genitalia? And
Because they
especially for
laugh at you.
girls.
Because they
Well,
laugh
but
at you.
especially for girls, it sends a message of shame, right? And
It
so
does. It
I
does.
in middle school, that's way too late to have those conversations.
But you couldn't tell her that. And I remember just a little frustration I was experiencing with her because I get it. She wants to protect her child like we all want to protect our children. But my response to her was, he's already talking about it. You might as
Of
well give
course
him the right
it is.
information so he's talking about it accurately. No, I don't think so. I don't think he's talking about sex yet. I'm like, You
Oh,
tripping.
girl, for real, he is, yeah. Or his friends are, or he's being exposed to it.
Exactly.
But don't you, as the parent, want to be the one to socialize the values, right? Which means
Yes.
you start early and you start often, and you explain things in developmentally appropriate ways,
Yes.
right? Like I remember my daughter, when I was pregnant with her brothers, and she was maybe 2.5, 3. She goes, "How does the baby get out?" She kept asking, and she will go and keep asking, like, "How does it get out of there? Like, how does it get out of there? First of all, how did it get in there? And second of all, how did it get out of there? How did it get in and how did it get out?" And I was like, "You're 3. So how am I gonna deal with this? How's it get in and how's it get out?" Right? She would stop asking. She'd ask in stores. She'd see pregnant women. She'd be like, "How'd it get in there?" Right? And so they are curious. Don't you want to be the one to have, like, never miss the opportunity to have the conversation in developmentally appropriate ways so that your kids are prepared? So here's what research shows. The more knowledge kids have, and this is appropriate knowledge, right?
Mhm,
Like
right.
inappropriate knowledge is like in years past, I had a client whose dad was like, "You're 11, going upstairs," and he had all of his pornography upstairs. And so, of course, he got addicted to pornography, sending your 11-year-old son up there. This is what men do message. No, I ain't talking about that. I'm saying having appropriate conversations so that kids are informed actually delays the onset of sexual intercourse.
Yes. Because if you hear the things you learn, the appropriate things you're like, you know what? I'm gonna put that off.
Right. I'm gonna put that, hopefully, I'm gonna put that on hold. Or if I do make that decision, I'm gonna have a conversation with my parents about it or people I trust. It's not a secret, y'all. Human beings
But
have been recreating themselves for a long time.
but don't you think that part of the reason why parents have such difficulty with it because generationally or otherwise, we haven't been prepared for that conversation ourselves, and so
Yeah.
now we're supposed to have a conversation with our kids, and we're like, wait a minute, I don't. If we're honest, we're not prepared for the conversation.
Level up, man. Level up, right? Like do better. Do better. If you could have a conversation with your kids about drugs and grades, you can have a conversation about sexual health, right? And you want to be the one to have the conversation, not just once. You want to initiate those conversations, right, early and often in developmentally appropriate ways, so that when your kid feels like they can come to you.
But Dr. Helm, your daughter sounds a lot like you asking all these questions. I don't know. I don't know your daughter, but she sounds kind of like you a little bit. But the other side of this that you make me think about is there are times when our kids do come to us and ask us questions, right? And we're
Yeah,
hopefully prepared to have the conversation, hopefully multiple times. And then there's a point, usually around teenage years, where they don't bring us nothing, or
correct.
they don't.
She's at that
They're
stage now. Mhm. I'm always
and
like, "Hey, you wanna talk about this?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, "But I'm ready. Like, I come on." And she's like, "No. Do you have any questions?" "No." "What do you
so
mean you
like,
don't like, I'm ready." And she ain't got
I'm
no
ready.
questions. She's
I'm
just
ready.
like, "I already know all that. Leave me alone." And I'm like, I know, but I
We
know,
talk about it.
we can
I
talk."
mean, I'll
Go
be
ahead.
honest. The conversation I had with my kids early on, this is like still elementary school. I said,
Yeah,
the kids in your school, like, are they have boyfriends or girlfriends or not? Yes, no. Are there people that you like? I said people intentionally because I
yeah,
wasn't sure if it was, they like girls or boys or
correct.
not.
Yeah,
And then later on, it's like, so, what's going on? I remember a conversation I had with my daughter. It's like she felt this pressure in high school that she's supposed to have a boyfriend because everyone seemed
yeah,
to have a boyfriend. And of
yeah.
course, that related to kissing and other kinds of things. And I'm like, let's be clear. I lied about having a girlfriend when I didn't. Many of our friends lied about having girlfriends they didn't. There's always a girlfriend on the other side of town. Mine was a girl who was really pretty who went to Duncanville because pretty girls went to Duncanville High School. And so that's
Okay,
what my claim was.
okay,
And so
okay.
that meant I was maybe having sex, and I wasn't. But
Right.
all this pressure we
Sure, sure.
experience and think that's how and I'm not talking about just back in the day when we were coming up. I'm talking about
Yeah.
even today, the
Oh,
same.
yeah. Well, I think there's a lot more pressure. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I have a story for you. So my dad, this is hilarious. When I was an adolescent and I was not having sex in high school, okay, but he would say, "Hey, let me know, right? Because I will put a prescription for birth control like with the pediatrician. You don't even have to ask me. And he said this, and every time he would say that, I'd be like, "Oh, stop! Oh." Until I realized if I could go back in time, I would have been like, "Yeah, do that," because he
Please.
would have flipped the hell out. There's no way in hell that he would have been okay with that. He would have flipped the hell out. He was looking for the response I always give, which is, "Ew, Dad." Right. But I wish I would have been like, "Yeah, it's time. You should do that." He would have been like, "Who this Negro? Like what?" He would have lost it. Absolutely not.
That
Mm-mm.
was a safe way for him to learn what's going on.
Yeah, he was testing me, and I wasn't even smart enough to pick up. Like I should have just,
But you
messaged
know,
them. Like, yeah,
I'm glad we're having this conversation because it's bringing up many memories. But I remember another thing, and I guess I'm asking as I tell this story. My daughter, she has a funny relationship with each of her parents, me and her mother. And I remember I don't know what it led to it, but I remember one day she's just like, her mother would be in the grocery store and be like, "Hey, you want to go get those pads?" And she'd be like, "Oh, mom." And for
yeah,
some reason, she felt more comfortable asking me to go get the pads than ask
yeah,
her mom. Because I think
yeah.
it ended up being a long conversation. Like, okay, do you want the wings or not? Do you do you want this bread or that bread? Me, I'm
Wait,
like, I don't. What are the wings for?
have
I don't
have you
know.
seen the TikTok videos where like the female partner asks her male partner to get wings, and he goes back with chicken wings?
Was it chicken wings?
She goes, and she's like, "What is this?" I would be like, "I'm good. Give me them chicken wings."
Thank you. I need them
Yeah.
wings. I need my protein.
But
But
at least she was comfortable with you.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that felt. I'll be honest. I felt a certain I don't know if pride is the right word, but
Yeah.
pleased that she felt comfortable enough to come to me. And of course, I told her mother. I said, she wants me to go get these pads. She's like, okay. But it's always a kind of a bit of a little bit of a roller coaster of how to navigate these and
It is.
circumstances we find ourselves in. But we
Yeah,
definitely need to be having the conversation.
we
And
do.
unfortunately, we're not having enough conversations around this.
Well, and threats don't work. If you have sex, you're gonna get an STD, don't have sex. Like, threats don't work, but information does, right?
See,
Information does. Like, and this is whatever your values are, right? As a parent, you wanna be the one to socialize your values in your children, but that starts early.
See, now you make me remember. I said, okay, so what happened? I'm saying, so my mom did two, I would say the right thing and the not so right thing. So in fourth grade, she got the letter from in California from the teacher saying, "Hey, we about to have sex education." So when sex education I had all the words. I knew
Yes.
vagina, penis, and all the things where babies came from. I had all the information because she felt like she wanted me to know from her
Yeah.
first
Yeah,
before the
yeah, yeah,
school.
yeah.
Cool. But before that, my mom came in my room one time when I was little. She goes, "I hope you're not in there touching yourself because that's a sin. You can get hairy palms."
Okay, hold on. Hold on, listen. I mean, quite frankly, like all the misinformation out there, come on. I mean, you're gonna get hairy palms. That's
I mean,
hilarious.
I didn't even know what that was. I had to go. It was years later. I was like, "Where's this hairy palm thing come from?"
It's a
And for
sin.
for a little while, I was like this. I was,
Oh my
and
god.
she had me
More like
messed up
this.
for a while. It was hard times. It's hard
Oh,
times.
hard times. Hard times. Well, I guess this is gonna be an ongoing topic,
Yes, it should be.
and in some ways it flows into our next topic.
Yes, yes. Socializing.
Socializing because, right, um, so research shows right now our Gen Zers, our young people are socializing a lot less than generations ever have before. So and we've talked about kind of social isolation on our podcast. We've talked about loneliness, and research is showing us that, you know, kids and young people, but it's all across the sort of American stratosphere that people are socializing a lot less.
Yes.
A lot less sex, a lot less socializing, and it makes me wonder what this means for the future of healthy relationships.
I don't know about you, but just when you said that, a lot less sex, a lot less socializing, and they're drinking less.
And they're
I'm
drinking
like,
less. Like, what
I'm,
y'all
I'm sad.
doing?
What y'all doing? I guess you on the
They're doing
video
this.
games and apps and
This. It's
watching
all
stuff.
this. Yes.
Okay, and I have no reason to believe not to believe what you're sharing because I see it as evidence
Yeah.
in a lot of different ways. I did have to kind of realize how they socialize looks different. I
Yes.
remember my son, who's a bit on the introverted side, when I've always tried to make sure to honor that part of who he is as a person.
Yeah.
He has the driest humor, but he's funny as hell, and
Yeah.
he'll just come up with some zinger out of nowhere. I used to be worried about him because he just didn't seem to be as social as I guess I
Yeah.
expected at the time. And then I found out this fool was socializing with these people on his video games. And I remember
Yes.
overhearing as he was playing in his room the back and forth dialogue, the kind of strategy about how they were going to approach something, them
Yep.
talking about how, what happened at school today. They were socializing. It just wasn't the way I was expecting it. And so that's
Yeah.
something I think I wasn't quite prepared for as a parent. And so I wonder how that fits into this whole conversation around socialization.
I agree. Like I have, a daughter and 2 sons, and the sons are always about video games, but they do have conversations with their friends over video games. I just read that the homecoming dance at a school was canceled because students weren't interested in going, right? And so to your point, like the ways of, things like high school reunions. Well, when you have social media, you already know what everybody's doing. So are those
Right.
going to go by the
You have to
wayside,
catch
right?
up.
Like yeah,
I ain't
like
like your
nothing
ass
special
anyhow.
about exactly right. Right. Bye, bye, bye. Right. So, these kind of hallmarks of young people socializing, going to bars and things like that, I think things are changing. And to your point, it looks different than it did.
It does.
And I don't know if we can judge it. I think we have to monitor and see what it looks like.
Yeah, and I guess it's like if I mean you're a clinician, and it's like how do we as if you're the unk in the community or the parent or you're supporting someone in some way, how do you observe, watch, try not to be too judgmental about how they do things, and then ask yourself, are there other ways that they're doing, or are they
Yeah.
truly lonely and
Right.
disconnected? Because if they are truly lonely and disconnected, now let's talk about the different ways you can go about getting out. Because I do get the sense that people are seeking out those
Yes.
in-person experiences, especially since the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I think they're struggling because the muscle memory may not be there for some of them.
Or
So
never
that's
developed in the first place. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that today's young people have sort of increase in social anxiety because
Mm,
social media, they're always comparing themselves to other people
yes.
and people put their best foot forward on social media, so what you're seeing is not always real. And so I do think that we have some challenges, but you're right, people are socializing differently, and I think we have to be careful about devaluing that until we see what the outcome of that is.
And you're bringing up, I think, a very important point here. Not that social anxiety just was created, 10, 20 years ago, but I
Right.
think the manifestation of it seems to be higher. Our willingness to acknowledge it as a challenge is, I think,
Yep.
definitely greater. And so if you have these competing, almost you think about as forces, the desire to get out there in the world and socialize, because I do think we're wired to a certain degree to be social in some ways
Yep.
or another.
Yep.
So there's a desire to do it, but then I have anxieties and comparisons and the doubts and fears and frustrations, not just made stuff made out of nowhere. It's out of real negative
Yep.
experiences people are having. And so there's these opposing, almost like two magnets that are kind of opposing each other, but at the same time attracting each other. It's a
Yeah.
weird dynamic to be finding ourselves
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. And, for those people listening, social anxiety disorder is a real thing and there are treatments for it. I think that social anxiety is on the rise. It doesn't mean everybody has it to a diagnosable level, but if you are finding you need to drink to be comfortable in social settings, right? You get depressed, right? You get overly worried about what other people think of you and it makes you not socialize. These are all indicators that you might need some help, professional
It's
help.
funny. It's funny you say that. I remember it was a while ago. I only remember it now because I ran into a woman I dated, her daughter, and I was reminded before we had to cancel. We had three different first dates. The
Okay.
first two were canceled at the last minute, and of course, I was like, "This is dumb. I'm not going
Side
to do
eye.
this anymore."
Yeah.
And she apologized and called back, and said, "Really, I'll explain to you. Just can we try one more time?" So we go, and she told me that she was so nervous and anxious and having heart palpitations that she canceled at the last minute on the first 2 dates. And so she had to get her friends, her sister, and others to kind of push her out the door, like, do this. And she finally came, and she had a great time. I had a great time, but it's
Okay.
all this anxiety that's so heavy for folks. And so I think it's impacting this generation that we're talking about, but also our own generations as we try to
But what happened
navigate
next?
these situations. What happened next? What do you mean? What happened next?
Did it continue?
Oh yeah, we dated for a while actually.
Okay. Oh, good. So it had a good ending.
Oh no, I mean, I don't know what the ended, but it had elongated fun and collaboration and enrichment to
Okay.
it.
Okay.
'Cause
Okay.
I would say we would maybe we would still be together if it ended well, but we're
Oh,
not.
okay. Fair, fair, fair. Well, is it time for another card?
Yes, it is. I'm so glad we talked about all of those topics. That was refreshing for me. I don't know about you,
Okay.
but it felt good to talk about those things. We definitely need to bring up the sex ed again. So
Oh,
let's
yeah.
think
I
about that
got
in the
lots to say
future.
about it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Um, Here's a good one.
Okay.
Some family traits I share are blank, blank, and blank. Some family traits. And this is the engagement card.
So
You want to go
family
first?
traits that I share with my family.
Whoever.
Okay. I gotta laugh. So I don't look like either of my parents, but I have all of their combined personality traits.
Okay.
So I
Okay. Well,
drive like my dad, which is like a bat out of hell. I'm better now that I'm older, but I'm a little speed demon. I'm
good.
assertive like my mom, right? My sense of humor lives somewhere, so I can see my I have a temper every once in a while, so I can see I sort of have a lot of my parents' personality traits, and my mom once said to me, "There's a lot of me in you." Right, which is why sometimes if you are a strong woman and then you have a strong woman, her woman fights with your woman until she gets out your house. I'm experiencing that now, and she said, "I hope you have one just like you," and sadly, yeah, yeah. The problem with the generations is who you become as an adult is who you may have as a child, and so they come into the world as you as an adult, and it's even stronger. So, yeah. So those are some of the family traits that I share.
And you're welcome. I think so.
And you're welcome.
I think that's what the Lord was saying to you in that moment. And you're
Yes,
welcome.
and you're welcome. Here you go. Yes, yes. How about you?
I'll be a little more concrete. If you go to, I just came from my family reunion a couple of weeks ago. Had a good
Cool.
time seeing folks. But one of the things I was reminded of the family trait is how big my head is. Thankfully, my head is proportioned to my body, 6'2". I think it's proportioned. I have a lot of short people in my family, so imagine all these big heads look like a like a lollipop field.
You're stupid.
Short,
You're stupid.
tall, big heads. So the other thing that we
I
share,
wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. I was not ready or
it's a
prepared.
thing. It's heads and feet.
Lollipop big heads. Okie dokie.
um, the other aspect that we have some introverts in my family, definitely, but we have a lot of personalities. And I may have
Okay.
shared with you before. In my family, I'm considered a little bit on the quiet side. So imagine a lot
Really?
of big personalities, just kind
Okay.
of not necessarily loud, but just gregarious and telling jokes and telling stories and people who are not shy about getting up in the middle of the church to have something to say about how the
Okay.
Lord been good to them.
Okay.
So there's that. And I will say the other part, one of the things I love about my mom, she was so like caring, and when she was mad at me, very like could be cuddly and those are traits that I bring to all my relationships, with my friends and
Nice.
stuff, and so that kind of and I find it to be endearing. But not everyone's that way. But those are traits that I think I bring to the table for my family.
I like that. The big head threw me, but yeah.
So let's get on this side eye with a
Okay.
little bit of time we have left. Okay, we all side eye like a mug, boy.
Yeah.
These all white people who decided that it was okay in their little private thread, their chat, we're using every racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic tropes you can imagine.
Mm,
And when it got, and I don't remember how their text got into the public, but then you had the vice president of the United States coming out defending them, saying
mhm,
these kids are just being kids, essentially what he said. And you're
uh-huh,
like, wait a minute, these dudes are running from their 20s until their 40s, early 40s. I think one of them's 42. So
mhm,
these clearly are not children.
yep,
And then of course the other argument is, well, these are private chats. We shouldn't be
mhm,
held because who doesn't say some really inappropriate things in private chats? I'm like, yeah, but even in the private chats I'm in, I usually challenge my friends when they say sexist and racist stuff.
mhm, yep,
So I don't,
yep.
I'm not buying that one either.
I'm actually surprised in today's political climate that it was even considered a big deal.
I mean,
Like, was I surprised? No. Was I disappointed? I don't even know. Just wasn't surprised. It's always disturbing, but I'm surprised actually that people were so shocked by it or that they were, because the climate has changed and we're not censorship is real and we're not challenging one another on these things as much anymore. So, I mean, it's a side eye, but to me, it's like a baby side eye because it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm so surprised. It's just like, yep.
there you
Thanks for
go.
letting us know who you are.
But this is the challenge. I think some people were. I mean, you and I weren't surprised. Many of
Wow.
us weren't surprised. But there's people I think within their body who were surprised, and I'm not
Were
quite
they
sure why
surprised
they
or
were.
did they say they were surprised? Were they actually surprised?
I mean, good question. I
Or did
mean,
they just say to distance themselves and be like, "Oh, that's shocking. I would never."
they definitely were embarrassed. A lot of them lost their positions in their organization. Lost some of them lost their jobs.
Mhm,
So the fact that there's a consequence for these things, but it does make me wonder that we've had this push, whatever you want to call it, this push where people are not being held accountable for certain things. And
mhm,
I'm wondering if we're hitting a stage in our society where there are going to be instances where people are going to be held accountable because we already know it's messed up.
I'm about to give you side eye.
I don't know.
I hope you're right. I do. I hope you're right. I hope
Because
you're
I
right.
mean, it's one instance where they're actually being held accountable, even though the VP is trying to give them an excuse.
Yeah.
However, we got the president also, giving people passes for laws that they break. And then he goes and kills a bunch of people in the middle of the ocean because he says they're drug dealers and terrorists. So
And on
haven't
that
solved
note,
all the problems, but
nope, 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 nope,
some
no.
accountability. So yes, side eye. Um, man, that's crazy. Well, let's wrap things up with our final
Okay.
part, if that's okay.
Yes.
Let's see here. Something I'll continue to reflect on is blank. Something I'll continue to reflect on is blank.
Mm. Something that I will continue to reflect on is I think we brought some positive energy today. And I think positive energy is one of the things that's needed positive energy and connection. And so I will continue to reflect on our positive energy today from our podcast and hopefully the connection that we're building with our listeners.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That has been a theme this week, staying connected. Um, I'll be honest. I'm going to go back to our initial conversation around that documentary because you made me start thinking about what was it about it I wanted to watch. And I think what for me, the reason I wanted to watch and the reason why I'm thinking about now is that
Yeah.
sometimes I think I'm so committed to like the work I'm trying to accomplish, my
Mm,
kids, other aspects of my life. Sometimes I'm not always sure if I'm connected to some of the suffering that's going on in the world. And so
mm.
I think watching the movie, while it doesn't necessarily allow me to be in their shoes, it was a reminder of how fucked up things are for a lot of folks, and
Fair.
the terror that some of us are experiencing. And I think in that moment, because I like I told you, I had to watch it, like I had to stop it for 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I finally sat with it, I was like in a state where I could be in the moment because
Yeah.
I was actually just listening to it and not really paying attention. And then when I actually sat with it, I was like, oh, this is so. And I
Yeah.
think there was a part of me that needed that this week because I know there's so much going on in the world
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
I'm a little I feel sometimes I'm a little disconnected from it. So this is my attempt to reconnect in a funny way. So that's what I'm kind of
Okay.
reflecting on.
Fair.
Cool.
Fair.
Cool.
Well, it's always good to talk with you, my friend.
Yes, yes, yes. And we'll see each other soon. I'm looking forward to it. And let's keep this sexual health on our
Okay.
docket for next time as well. Is that cool?
Sounds good. I got lots to say about it.
All right, it was good seeing you, and
Okay.
you have a great week. All right.
Okay, you too. Take care. Bye.